So last week we kicked off the series called Ripple Effect, all right? And really what this is based around is the fact that we all are looking to leave our mark on this culture, on this world, through a legacy. And it's kind of like, we're all looking for our wet cement to put our hands in to like leave our mark. We all want to be that drop of water that comes and creates this effect, this ripple effect for positive change. Not only with our friends, our family, but our coworkers, our world. This church is a drop that we want to create a ripple effect with. And so there's great power in that. And God has a special and specific plan for all of us. And really what we've been doing is we kicked off and we're going through this book of Ephesians. And as we go through it, Paul is addressing this church and he's written this letter to them from prison. Okay, so he's in prison in Rome, and this is a church that he knows very well. He helped start it, but also he pastored this church for like 3 years. Okay, so he knows it very well. He loves the people there. And then this is about 10 years later that he's writing from prison because he would get updates in prison to how things are going, what's happening. And so he would address issues while he was there because obviously he had some time. And so he's writing to this church, and we talked about last week how one of his main hopes and prayers for this church as they were doing so much and loving so well was that they would go to a greater depth. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this whole series is about us going, now is my time. It's my time. And as a church going, it's our time to leave a mark. We're in a new facility, a new building, a new area, and it's a new year, and it's just an exciting opportunity to go. Sometimes I think we should just say, God, what if? Like, what if? And start dreaming and going after this. And so in Ephesians 2, 1 through 3, we're going to keep going in this. And Ephesians 2, 1 through 3, and this is Paul once again talking. He's writing this letter to them. And he's telling them this. He says, once you were dead because of your disobedience and your many sins. You used to live in sin just like the rest of the world, obeying the devil, the commander of the powers in the unseen world. He is the spirit at work in the hearts of those who refuse to obey God. All of us used to live that way, following the passionate desires and inclinations of our sinful nature. By our very nature, we were subject to God's anger, just like everyone else. In other words, he is saying, remember where you came from. Remember where you came from. For some of us, the greatest mistake and the greatest struggle for some of us is just this failure to remember where we've come from in our lives. And we think about the things that we used to do. And, if you're younger, you're like, well, the things I used to do, I used to color. I mean, I don't have that much of history to draw on. Well, that's okay. The good thing is you're young. You get to address these things now. But for some of us, we can look, and there's a lot of baggage there as to how we used to live, the mistakes that we used to do. And some of us are still dealing with some of the consequences of some of those actions. And the reality is, who was influencing those decisions that you made? Whether you knew it at the time or not. What do we see there? It was the enemy. It was Satan. He was influencing us to make these decisions. And I love how Paul says that we all have stories. He's not just saying hey, you guys have a lot of dirty laundry in your church. Deal with it. Or remember how bad you were. But he's saying, listen, I was just like that. There's people all over that are just like you, that have the same story. We all have past like this where we were selfish, misguided. We were wrong. And I look at this and I go, why is it important to look back and to understand whose influence you were under? Because he specifically says, man, you know who you were under was Satan, who's running the show down here. And it's important for us to know that because you relate so much better to other people when you understand whose influence they're under. Okay? So one of the things that's so important and critical for us to understand and own the fact that because think about it this way, if you're not being influenced by God, who's influencing you? When you think about it. For some of us, it's not I'm just kind of being influenced by whatever goes on and how I feel and this or that. No. You either are being led and following God and being influenced by God, or you're being influenced by something else. And what's dangerous is that something else. And when you start to understand and realize that, man, I was being influenced by him, they're being influenced by him, guess what starts to happen? You start to be a little more patient with people. You start to go, I'm not surprised what's going on in our culture. Like, I've been coaching these 8th grade boys in basketball, and I just love it. We won a game this week in overtime. It was like, oh yeah. I drove back from Vista in my car yeah, we won. But it was awesome. And as I'm hanging out with these kids and I'm glad I'm doing this because I just actually accepted to go speak at this junior high camp this year. And I haven't spoken to just straight junior hires in a long time. And so I just accepted to do this. And so I'm like, oh, good. I'm like hanging out with junior hires right now. I'm getting it. But it is absolutely crazy, the culture they're growing up in and the decisions they're thinking about and the things they're deciding between. And then when I was there, it's insane. The difference. It's crazy to me. And I look at that and it's easy to go, whoa, and be surprised, or you can go, well, I see who's kind of controlling things. And so I get it. Obviously, the culture and the decline and what's happening and the things. I mean, you just think about the people and who's ruining and running lives and influencing these decisions. I want you to just think about this because, our culture now is to the point who do you think has influenced us to the point where we didn't care at all about the world, taking care of the world, who cares about the world? When right out the gate in the Bible, he's like, take care of this. I mean, how in the world, how could we be a culture like that? How could we be influenced a culture to where somebody, for the sake of any type of religion, could put a bomb, strap it to themselves, and go to a place with a lot of people to create as much damage as possible while killing themselves? How in the world does that happen? How in the world does sex trafficking exist? How? Have you ever just thought, how does this exist? There is no, it is the worst, most deplorable, and for some of you that have a little girl, you just can't even fathom it. And there's families that are going through that and living that, and it's how in the world could that happen? Do you stop and think about that? How in the world could someone hate another person just because the tone of their skin is different? Who are we? How could we not care about unborn babies? How could we not care about God's definition of what love is and what love isn't? How can we be we're Jesus followers, but as churches we fight each other? As Christians, we're oh, I love Jesus, you love Jesus, I really don't like you. And we're both same squad, and we're fighting each other. And I look at all of these things and I go, and then I read this and I see who's influencing the invisible world, this battle that's going on, and I go, I get it. Because I look back and I can see my life. And I know who was influencing me, and it wasn't just it was he had a heavy influence on the things I was doing. And for some of you know that, but we need to have a bigger perspective and understand that he is absolutely running wild with culture. He is doing a great job with his goal. But the other reason we need to know who's really doing a lot of this is because we need to understand and we need to remember where we've come from so we don't revert back. Okay? When you think about your past and you look at where you're at today, there should be a very easily defining difference in the decisions you make, how you make those decisions, who you choose to speak into the decisions you're going to make. What is your motivation in life? Like I should be able to go back and go, well, yeah, it was these goals and this, but man, I went all in. I said, hey, I'm going to be a Jesus follower, this and that. And now it should look differently. Not that like you don't have goals, you're not motivated or inspired, but there's something that happens in your heart that changes you and your perspective. And you find your motives changing. And if we're not careful, because the other thing is like, it's not like I feel like some people think like, and this is why Paul's like going out of his way to like say, hey, remember this, because you're doing well. And I think sometimes we're like, oh, I'm a Christian now. Like, you're the one jumping, you're worshiping, and it's like, you don't think the devil can touch you now. Because you're just like, oh, yes, I did it. I'm all in with this. I'm reading my Bible every day. I pray every day. I'm doing it. All this. Listen, Satan is going to, it's not like if, it's when. He's going to try to bring back some of these issues you've had. He's going to try to bring up lust again. He's going to try to bring up insecurity. He's going to try to bring back up body image. He's going to try and bring up addictions. He's going to do all these things to trip you, to revert you back. And so it's important for me to know and to identify where I've come from, because also I want to know, like, are those things starting to creep back up in my life? Like, how do you handle stress now? It should look different. There's just differences in our lives. And so he says, be very careful, be proactive, and understand and know who we're against. Okay, Ephesians 2:4-7, we keep going, and it says this: but God is so rich in mercy, and he loved us so much that even though we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead. It is only by God's grace that you have been saved. For he raised us from the dead along with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms because we are united with Christ Jesus. So God can point to us in all future ages as examples of the incredible wealth of his grace and kindness toward us, as shown in all he has done for us who are united with Christ Jesus. Okay, so what does it mean when he says he's rich in mercy? What does that mean? Well, mercy is giving us what we don't deserve. Okay? So, well, actually, I just backwards that up. Mercy is not giving us what we deserve. Okay, so when someone demonstrates mercy, it's kind of like when you got caught by your parents doing something, and it was like, oh, I know the consequences for this. I'm dead. And they demonstrate mercy, and you're begging for mercy, and you're like, Mom, I'll never do it again. I promise. I don't know what happened. I heard the pastor talk about the devil. I think it was the devil. But yeah, please, I'll never do it again. I promise. And you're wanting mercy. God, in his rich mercy, when the wages of sin is death, he reached down and did not give you what you deserve. He gave you mercy, and he's rich in it. And not only that, he made us alive. And I love that. I love thinking about that. He made us alive just like Christ. And how did he do that? Just like he rose Christ from the dead. How did he make us alive to him now? Well, he did it through his grace, which is giving you what you don't deserve. Which is an amazing concept. The fact that like salvation is 100% gift of grace. 100%. And I look at that and I go, man, like the spiritual inheritance that I have, a place in heaven that I have, all an act of grace. And the thing that I love here, it says, he wants to show you off. Like, did you ever see that? Like, he wants to show you off, not only down here, but up in heaven, and be like, look at that. They are examples, and some of you are like massive examples, of his grace and mercy. And he wants to show you off, because you communicate everything that's great about him. You communicate how much he loves everybody. By him reaching down and giving us grace, mercy when we didn't deserve it, we didn't ask for it. By him doing that, he's demonstrating this incredible love, this kindness that he has. And my question to you is, are you living, just like he says, I made you alive, to be alive. Are you living alive? You're like, well, yeah, I'm breathing. No. There's people that are breathing. I would say they're taking up space. But are you alive? Like, would someone say, man, that person is alive? Because I look at this, and there's like, I see people that are like, yeah, I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be living. This is good. I'm glad I get to do this. And then there's people that are like, I am going after life. I'm alive. And it's like, this is a gift. And I love that. You know, when I used to go to prison, not because I was getting arrested, for the most part, but when I was going to prison and speaking and would preach, and I love preaching in prisons. It's the funnest thing in the world for me. Because it's such a great reminder how just one decision can change the rest of your life. And it's such a reminder of God's grace and his love for people that you just have no idea the stories. And I love going in there and speaking and trying to inspire and challenge those individuals. But there's individuals in prison. If ever you go into prison, you'll notice there's people that are like doing time. They're doing their time. They're just trying to get it done. There's other people in prison that they're there and yes, they're doing time, but they're not living like it. They're like working to try and get a degree. They're like trying to get themselves ready to make a difference in the world after they're gone. Like after they're released, they're ready. They want to attack life. They want to go after it. And you see these two people. You see the ones that are just like, man, I just got to get out of here, man. I got I got 2 years, and I'm out. And then there's other people that are literally, they're trying to get on the computer. They're trying to fight their way to the resources to try and get a degree, to do things because they have time and they want to attack life, the challenges of life, and they want to succeed at life when they get out. And my question is for us, are we here on this earth? Are we just like buying our time, taking our time, or are we going, God, you love me so much. You have, for whatever reason, given me mercy. For whatever reason, not only did you not give me what I deserve, but then you gave me a whole bunch more than I deserve by giving me grace, salvation, a place of eternity, all these things. And by that grace, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be inspiring. I'm going to love with abandonment, and I'm going to pursue you. And I'm going to go after it because I'm alive. Not because I just am here, but because I'm alive. When you look at your life, gosh, I hope people don't go, man, Steve, he's living, but he's not alive. I don't want to be that person. Which one are you? Are you living in light of grace? What does it look like? Because here's the reality. Grace and mercy are two of the words I probably hear maybe the most whenever I'm in like the church world or the church circles. It's probably the most used, least practiced words I hear. And so my question is, what does that look like when that's at the forefront of our lives? Well, when that's at the forefront of our lives, you don't say it, it comes out of you. So if I'm talking about grace and mercy, I should be one that is dishing out grace and mercy. It shouldn't be my religion. It shouldn't be, man, that's great advice, God, or thanks for giving that to me, but they don't deserve it. That's insane. Get out of here. Get out. You are so blessed. You didn't earn that grace. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But like, if that's at the forefront of your life, if you're living and it's not just a verse that I quote or I say or I share, but it's a part of me, then guess what? I am dealing with people with grace. I'm giving mercy to people that don't deserve it. I'm blessing people that maybe don't deserve a blessing. And I look at that and because that's like polar opposite from everything inside of me that I go is right versus wrong. Because in my mind, it's you get what you deserve. If you work hard, it'll come. If it hasn't come for you, you didn't work hard enough. Ha ha. Like that's how I've always kind of thought. And then I read this and I'm like, wow, God, thanks for just turning my whole world upside down. Because I'm supposed to like go over and above in extending mercy and grace in loving people that can do nothing for me, can't advance me, help me, but I'm called to love them even more. People that talk bad about me, no. You're not called to then like talk bad about them, but you're called to love them, forgive them, give them mercy, demonstrate grace. It's crazy. It's hard. But if we're going to talk about it, because when you look at it, like he gave that to you. He gave that to you. And he keeps going. In verses 8 and 9, he said, God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward. Now, some of you just need to highlight, take this, soak in it, bathe in it. In verse 9 it says, salvation is not a reward for the good things we have done. So none of us can boast about it. Okay, these, to me, are some of the most powerful words in our Bibles. By grace you have been saved, and it has nothing to do with you and your works. And listen, this is the very core. Some of you that you came here and maybe you don't believe, or maybe you're just like, I don't know, I'm a skeptic, I don't know, we'll see what they're doing. Someone invited me and they seem nice or okay or just a little weird, but I'm going to come, and you're here. Listen, you can disregard everything I say, but I want you to hear this, because this is the defining line for what we believe versus what everyone else believes in all these religions out there. This is the defining line. Because every other religion is God plus you doing something. Everything includes you doing something. Yes, he'll do this, but you do this. You need to understand that when I say a Jesus follower, when I say going all in with God, and when I talk about salvation, what I'm talking about, it's all God and it's none of you. Like, it's all off of what he's done. It's not, like if you think like someone can come and they earn their way and then, well, he's on stage, he's a pastor, like he must have done a lot to like earn his way up there. That is the biggest joke you've ever heard. Just talk to my wife afterwards. Like, you want to talk about grace and giving what you don't deserve and 100% God? This is 100% God. And what separates this from all these other religions and belief systems is the fact that he says it's only, and I am, when Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father but through me, everything changes. It's not Jesus plus. It's not plus that. It's not if I do this, I get this. It's 100% off of God. Because he's given us this amazing mercy, this grace. And I love it because he says, if you had something to do with it, you would have something to brag about. But you didn't. And listen, some of you are like, man, what do I say to people when they ask me what I believe? Or why I believe this? You just quote those two verses. It's a gift from God, not of myself. And let's just be honest. Let's just own this, okay? Because right now, religion is it's a hot button. Like, in this world. Like, you're going to be asked what you believe. Now I find myself articulating why I believe what I believe a lot more than I used to. Just because it's a hot button. People want to know why your opinion is this way, why you believe what you believe, and all this. And listen, we've got to be able to articulate, why we believe, what this is about, what it's not about. Because I'm hearing words that I just thought I'd never hear. Like I'm hearing things like, oh, it's all the same God. Like, oh, there's just different religions, but it's the same God. Like, it's okay. Listen. Please don't say that. Please don't. And here's why. Not even for the sake of what we believe or what I believe. That is such, I'm trying to be nice about that statement. I can't think of a nice word, so I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to say don't say it. Because what you are communicating not only would offend me, it would offend someone else with the other belief system, to be honest with you. If you have ever traveled outside this country and gone somewhere into a specific religious-dominated culture, and you said to them, so we all believe the same things. Man, good luck. You are running. They will chase you. Like, no. Listen, there are defining differences. Our God has said, I love you so much that I'm going to send my one and only son to come and do for you what you could never do for yourself. Okay, that's our God. Okay, right there. So he's not all these other gods. Okay, when Paul would walk into a culture, just like when he walked into Athens and he saw all these different religions and these different people worshiping these different gods, he didn't walk in and go, oh, you're so creative. Guess what? Like, it's cool. You worship that way, that way, that way. You're all, though, it's all funnels to the same God, so we're good. Like, no, that's nowhere in here. That's nowhere in any of the other religious circles as well. Like they would go, yeah, no. He says, I found the unknown God, a different God, the real God, the true God. Let me tell you about him. This is the best day and age and time to say, let me tell you about the God I worship. Oh, I love it. I love sharing about the God I worship. I'm the guy that when people knock with different religions on my door, I'm like, come in, baby. Let's talk. I love it. And not because I know people that invite people in their homes because they're like, oh, let's fight and let's film it and put it all over. No. That's not what I want to do. I love having discussions and I love asking, and I love asking questions. But the most important thing, the thing that gets me excited is I love talking about the fact that I worship a God that said, regardless of Steve, how good or bad you are, I love you this much. And I want to share that with other people because what they're being told is I have to do this and do this and do this. And if I don't do this well enough, I won't have this happen and this or that. Listen, I want to share with my friends, with the people that don't believe what I believe. I want to talk to them about freedom, because they don't know about it. And that's what this is. Some of you live your life like this is like this prison sentence when this is the most freeing thing, the most freeing faith, the most freeing, we'll call religion, relationship, whatever you want to call it, that is out there. It's amazing. Don't shy away from talking about this hope that you have that comes from this incredible grace and mercy that was given to you. And it's unique and it's different. It's not like all these other religions. He is not like every other God. To say that about him, don't do it. In verse 10, he closes with this. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. Okay, a masterpiece. I love that because when I think about artists, I like Coldplay. I didn't get any response on that. It's weird. Sometimes I'll get a boo, or sometimes, or you guys just gave nothing. So apparently no one likes Coldplay. I like Coldplay, and guess what? A lot of people like them because they're playing at the Super Bowl. Anyway, so I like Coldplay. Some of you are like, man, I knew I didn't want to watch the Super Bowl. I think Beyonce's singing with them too. There you go. Okay? But anyway, Coldplay, I love Coldplay, okay? There is a song that they have, woo, and I would call it their masterpiece. And I could just listen to it on repeat. Some of you have bands in your life, and you just, you follow them, you listen to that band, you listen to their podcast, what they have to say, everything. You're following them. You're like, how do I bleed your kind of blood? And it's just, you're insane with this band, okay? And there is a particular song with that band, and it's just like, it's all, like for some of you, you'd say, it's spiritual. And that song comes on, and it's a masterpiece. Okay, there's painters, there's artists, okay? And they have painted what many of us would consider their masterpiece. And it's a huge, huge deal. It's that moment when everything came together. It's funny, in sports, athletes will perform and a specific day will be their masterpiece. Like right now, Kobe Bryant is retiring. He's announced he's retiring. So like Laker games are like sold out. It's like crazy. Everybody wants to see him one last time. But they look back and his masterpiece was when he scored 81 points in a game. It was like everything came together, his masterpiece. And it was like, man, I wish I was there. How do I buy something that someone had while they were there? Like, we'll pay big top dollar for things that are masterpieces. You are a masterpiece. You're a masterpiece. What other faith says that? Please tell me. You are a masterpiece. And that's not like, Steve, hey, I'm going to inspire you. Like, that's the living God, like looking down at you, however old, young, whatever, saying, you're my masterpiece. And that's the only opinion that matters. Like, that's the only opinion that matters. And we see this. He the thing, man, do you realize that he loves you like you're the only human he created? That's the kind of love he loves you with. I think sometimes we just need to rewire our brain to understand how much he's been intentional and how much he loves you. And Paul's like, if you still don't get it, read the rest of it, because he says, not only are you his masterpiece, but beforehand, he's created this incredible blueprint for your life so that you would walk in that and fulfill this incredible calling, this legacy, this drop that just creates this ripple effect. This incredible plan beforehand for you and for me. And when I look at this, I go, we're not saved by our works. Like, he didn't save us because we're good and because of our good works. He saved us for good works. When you think, good works aren't the root of my life, but guess what? Good works are the fruit of my life. Okay, so he's the root, but guess what? Out of all that he does in my life, like fruit happens, fruit comes around. I grew up and we had like a half orchard where I grew up in Washington. It was awesome. I remember we'd go out in the summers and we'd pick fruit and we would eat it and all that. And I remember, man, that tree, what's wrong with it? We got to figure out what's going on, and you got to do specific things to the different fruits. And we would go out there and it's a big deal. And man, it was amazing when the pear tree would just be pears everywhere. And I look and I go, man, what is the fruit? What does my tree look like? Am I the tree out there that's got one cherry? And everybody's like, wow, Steve. Or am I out there in this orchard going, what's up? Oh yeah, my arms hurt. Because those are all fruit, baby. Okay? There's 15 dudes all pulling fruit off my tree right now because of what God's done. And he's prepared all this for you so that you would go after this. And it's crazy because I look at this, and this is exactly like the mission of our church. It's the vision of our church. It should be the vision of our lives. It should be everything that we're about. But man, I go, some of us, I go, and for me, I go, how do I find out the good works that I'm created for? How do I find my fruit that I can get going here? How do I find that? Well, here's some simple ways to help you go. One is confess. Okay? We got to get cleaned out. Okay, some of us are like, man, I'll do God plus this, all this. Some of you just need to make a decision to go, you know what? I just need to confess and get the garbage out of my life so that he can fill me up. Okay, because I can tell you from being around trees and that, based upon different things, it will infect your ability to bear fruit. And it's the same thing in our lives. Have you ever eaten somewhere, and if you've eaten at someone's house in here or at my house, and you saw this and noticed this, don't comment or raise your hand, but have you ever eaten off a plate and you can smell the previous meal that was served on this plate? Or you pick up the fork and you take a bite and you look at the fork and you're eating a meal that might have been yesterday because there's still stuff stuck on the fork. That's usually when I say free meal. But we've all had it where it's someone hasn't cleaned this dish very well, and there's some of you that are like, man, that's character, Steve. That's how it tastes so good. No, it's gross to me. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now. If you invite me over and you're like, nah, Steve, we don't ever wash our pants, please don't invite me. I'll be like, okay? But you want to have the fullness of a meal. Man, we had a great meal last night. And if they would have brought anything with anything else that still had something else on it, I would have been so mad because it would have taken away from the incredible taste of this incredible meal. Okay? God has an incredible meal for you, and it's not you are coming into it as a dirty dish. You got to clean it out. You got to go before him and just say, God, this stuff is in my life. Take me through the washer. Get me cleaned out because I want to taste the fullness of this incredible meal you want to do with my life. So confess. The second thing is surrender. Now, what is surrender? Surrender is, God, let's do this your way. Not only, God, let's do this your way, but I'm open to whatever way that is. Because it's very, a lot of us will go, I'll do it, God, but only if it goes this way. Many times as I've been planting this church, I believe I've been in sin by saying, God, I'll do this, but you better do this. And he's like, oh, you've never planted a church before. Just watch what I do. Okay? God, I surrender. How do you want to do this? The next is study his word. We talked about it last week. We talked about how Paul's greatest prayer was depth. Study his word. Get depth. It'll help you identify your calling. The next is talk to him. Pray to him. Start communication with God. I mean, I have no idea what Lindsay wants me to do tonight when I come home until I talk to her. Like, we just don't have the telekinetic powers, okay? But when I go home, I'll say, hey, honey, you got him, I got him, we'll do this, we should eat this, da-da-da. We talk, and we move forward. Some of you are just like, I love God, and then you put your head down and you do everything else, and God's like, hey, let's talk. Let me help you. Let me help you find, I've created this for you. I want to help you get there. Let's talk about it. The next thing is go after opportunities to serve him. Go after opportunities in your life that come to you where you get to serve someone else, bless a church, and just do that because it helps define and determine the calling that God has previously put on your life. The last thing is this, and this is one of the most important, is get some godly people in your life and allow them to speak into it. There are people in my life that I have given the freedom to speak into it, and sometimes I wish I hadn't, just because they call me out on stuff, and I'm like, I guess we're done meeting for a while. But that is the greatest thing that you can have, is godly people that are going in a direction that you respect, that you admire, that you know aligns with who God is, and you let them speak into your life. That is such a great thing and will help you. And they'll also say, hey, I see this gifting in you. You should try this. Honestly, there wouldn't be a church here if there weren't people speaking into my life. Because there were some of them that said, hey, Steve, we see this. And I'm like, And that's what started it. In my mind, in my heart was that. And then God started doing stuff. Allow people to speak. Listen, our legacy, this church's legacy, your legacy, it's going to come down to these things. It's going to come down, am I going to live a life that is alive, that is grace-filled, that is merciful? Am I going to offer that to people? And am I going to live that, or is it going to be part of the cliche lines of the faith I have? Do I need reminded that it is all about God, that he's freely given this to me, that I didn't earn it? Because sometimes I think we walk around like, I'm a pretty good gift to the whole Christian faith. I'm pretty good. And he's like, no, it's all me. It's all because of me. And the other thing is there fruit in your life? You were designed and predetermined, pre-planned to bear this incredible fruit. Are you going to pursue it? And as you pursue it, it'll change your life, your family, this church. And listen, as we think about a blueprint and a drawing for the plans that you have, let's say it's a building, let's say it's a house, and you look at it and you see it and you can see the drawing and all this. It's funny because Lindsay has me watch this TV show on HGTV with her. I think it's called Fixer Upper. And anyway, we watch it. It's like our moment to bond. And we watch it and they'll take these families into these homes, and these homes are just ugh. And then they will sit them down and they'll show them on a computer what they will do to it if they choose that home with the budget they have. And so they see that and they're like, whoa, you can do that and all this. And so anyway, they pick a house and all this, and then the rest of the show is them demolishing the house and then all these things, and they make this amazing house at the end, and then they open it up and it's just like, wow. That's amazing. I wonder how many times in our lives the blueprint is that moment of amazing, but it never came off the paper. It never came off the computer. Many times I feel like in our lives, we don't take those next steps in our walk. Either we don't go, man, I'm really going to go after this, or I'm really going to I'm going to grow, I'm going to get deeper, or I'm going to understand, and I'm going to go after, I'm going to live alive, I'm going to give grace and mercy. And I think sometimes we sell ourselves short for whatever reason, for cultural reasons, job reasons, family reasons, whatever reason, we sell ourselves short, and we're this incredible blueprint that God has designed beforehand, these incredible works for you to do, and we stay on the paper, and we're in the shelf, and it was always this great plan that would look amazing and beautiful, but it never comes to life. There's never the moment when we go, oh my goodness, look at this. And by the definition of these verses, by what it's saying, your life is designed to have an oh my goodness, look at this moment. Because you're a masterpiece. He paid top dollar for you. You're his crowning achievement. The works of your life and what you're going to do in the fruit of your life, he's going to show off to this world, to the heavenly of heavenlies, and go, that is mine. That's mine. Let me pray. God, I just thank you for these words. They're amazing. Grace and mercy and words that just blow my mind. The defining place that separates what we believe from so many others. The fact that it's 100% God and nothing of Steve. Lord, thank you for the freedom that I have, the freedom this faith allows me to have and to walk in. Thank you for this salvation. Lord, thank you that I look in the mirror and don't see a masterpiece, but you do. Thank you that when I see insecurities and struggles and things that don't come through for me, that you didn't change the blueprint. It's still there. Thank you for these things and these moments and these situations that haven't even come into my life yet, but they're going to come as I pursue you and as I live a life that says, I'm alive. Just as you rose Christ from the dead with power, authority, and there was excitement and amazement, all our lives have that same power attached to it based upon the grace that you freely gave us. Thank you. Thank you. We can't leave the same after these words. And so continue, Lord, to take us to a depth and a level that we've never been with you before. I pray that this room would fill up with people that are wells, that are getting so filled up that they just start overflowing into their friends' lives, their families' lives, their coworkers' lives, their school classmates, their lives, all that. And that people notice and go, man, that person is alive. Man, they love me. They care about me. I don't know why, but they do. Help us to create this movement, Lord. I pray that Limitless Church, that it would be a different church because of that. I pray that the people in this room would be different people because of that. Lord, we're all in with you. We're all in, whatever that means, Lord. We will all want to be standing and just be weighed down by the fruit that's dangling from our branches. So we just anticipate and say, right now, God, let's do this. In Jesus' name, amen.